This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane. This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
What's happening? You got the Adrenaline Junkie, Casen Cain, coming at you with Wrestling with Entertainment. Let's go off the rails.
Hello, and welcome to the show at Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the Adrenaline Junkie, Casen Cain.
Hey, thank you for having me. So yeah, just since we're doing some plugs, I do have a match on the 18th that I know of off the top of my head in Burlington, North Carolina for Alpha Underground. We're going to be defending the ALW Tag Team Championships. Merchandise, I should have some coming out soon. You can, of course, follow me on Casen_Cain on Instagram. Casen Cain on Facebook, where I would be putting the merchandise that's coming out.
Okay, and people can DM you to place an order, correct?
Absolutely.
Perfect. And you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, well, let's get into it. You are a part of the Trendsetters with Pretty Boy Lane and Kent Wolf. Can you tell us about your relationship with Pretty Boy and Kent?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first got started 6 years ago, I had my first match in a battle royal, like first anything wrestling-wise that I actually got to be in front of crowds. I had a battle royal, and I ended up meeting Pretty Boy Lane that day. And then he was one of the people that really wanted to get to know me, and then we started doing some training together. And he was the guy that would bring me to other shows, other indie shows, to try to get me, some practice before the shows got started. And he actually ended up helping me getting booked, because when we would be practicing, getting him ready for a match, and training together, a lot of the promoters that, would watch us train, and then I would end up getting booked from doing that. So I owe a lot to Pretty Boy Lane. He was already in the Trendsetters with Kent Wolf, and we all just kind of clicked, right away. Lane and Kent are still two of my best friends in the world. So every time we're on a show together, it's absolutely amazing. A lot of the times now, it is me and Lane, but I've also tagged with Kent. Lane's tagged with Kent. So we do a little bit of the free bird rule with us. So, if they end up hiring the Trendsetters, you may get one of us, you may get two of us, you may get all three of us. Also, we wanted to have a trio group because, there's only so many in the indies, so we thought it was a good idea to give us all, more exposure, potentially more match potential. We all thought it was a good idea, and we're still riding high on it, in my opinion.
Hell yeah. But, you could correct me if I'm wrong here. It hasn't been all, positive with Pretty Boy. You have had your differences in the past, no?
Yep, absolutely. So, me and him, especially when I first got started, had several matches together. The biggest ones, I think, were at Firestar Pro Wrestling. And I actually watched that match 2 nights ago, funny enough. Hadn't seen it in years.
And there, wasn't there one time you beat him up in a parking lot?
Yep. So what had happened with that was he went to Firestar where I was training at the time, and he saw someone in a Firestar hoodie, the same one that a lot of the trainees had at the time, and he beat some guy up that he thought was me. So then, since he was looking for a fight, I went and found him for a fight, and then that led into the match. But yep, I really enjoyed that match. I've never wrestled Kent though, only Lane a couple times.
Is that something you kind of want, just to kind of just test that bondage between the two of you?
Yeah, I would love to wrestle Kent. Hopefully it wouldn't be a hostile situation. Hopefully it can be all about the sportsmanship. But I've never gotten a chance to wrestle him, and I love watching his matches. So I would like to see how we would square off against each other, and I think it would be a really good match if we ever did have it.
Hell yeah. Is there maybe a pet peeve about Lane or Wolf that you just don't quite understand about them?
No, I can't think of anything offhand. Nothing in particular. I'm trying to think. Oh, Lane, so when we hang out, he really likes like NASCAR and like all things like that. And I like it a tiny bit, but he'll say things that I just have no idea what he's talking about. So I kind of have to nod and be like, yeah, I got you, man. But there's not really anything I could say negative about him. Those guys are two of my best friends in the world.
So just too much insider baseball talk.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just not quite with it.
I gotcha. Well, you were, kind of bitter enemies, but now the best of friends, and quite the tag team as well. You hold multiple tag team championships with Lane. It's one thing, holding one tag team championship, but to hold so many, especially with the same tag partner. What does it kind of mean to you to hold those championships and be trusted?
Anytime you get the opportunity to have a match for any championship, it shows that the promotion has faith in you. So I'm always grateful for the opportunity. Lane and I, know each other very well. We, when we're in the ring, we don't really have to communicate on what we think the best strategy for attack is. We know each other like the back of our hand, so it makes things very organic. So I'm very fortunate on that. I'm very blessed to have had, the opportunities that I have had. And, when you get to do it with your best friend, that's something that people only dream about. So I'm very fortunate. And hopefully we win a couple more, Hopefully it's not the last one. And hopefully we don't lose them in a week.
Oh, yeah. You've held tag titles before, but does it kind of mean a little bit more considering that, you are so close to Lane?
Yes, I would say so. A lot of, especially the last two tag team title wins, so the current one and the one we had before, probably are the most meaningful because, before we didn't really connect with the fans in a positive way. I remember, one of the times, getting like sucker punched by a fan, wanting to meet me outside of the dressing room and, getting trash thrown at us. So, and now the fans have taken a liking to us much more in the last, couple years. So I'm very fortunate to, have that connection with the fans that come and see us. So, I do enjoy it. I'd probably say a little more now for that sole purpose. But, I would say, each of them all have their own value and all meant a lot to me when they were happening. But yeah, no, I'm trying to even think of how many titles we've won together. It's been quite a few now at this point. So I'm very blessed for us to have had all the matches that we've had together. And, I can't ask for anyone better to have your back.
I mean, winning any championship is, a big moment. Is it kind of a moment you take in the moment, or is it something that kind of sets in afterwards, like, wow, I did this?
Yeah, so, I mean, it just depends. There was one time in my career when I had won, I think it was like 3 championships in a like 4-month period or something like that. So they were all very back to back to back, and that's kind of more of a blur because they all happened so quickly. And so it was a little bit more of after the fact that it all set in. But the last 2, I wanted to make sure, whenever those started happening again, to really take in the moment, because, we're all human. As much as I'd like to be indestructible, anything could happen. I could get dropped on the head the wrong way, and then, any of my matches could be technically my last match. So those moments that I have now, I really like to take my time and appreciate the moment, because, not to sound, negative, but more in a positive light, you don't know how many more you'll get. So I'm very fortunate that the last couple times I've really basked in the moment and really, enjoyed myself, which I think is the most important part, because of course, like, you love connecting with fans, but you originally get into this, for yourself, and so you want to, if you're not having fun, there's not really, it's kind of like, what are you doing,
Right.
Exactly.
No, I definitely get that. And like you said, you kind of got your start at Firestar. Can you tell us about your relationship with the company?
Yeah, so I was initially trained by LeBron Cozone, and then I was trained a lot, very heavily, by Scrapyard Dog. May he rest in peace. And then I did come back. Took a little time away. It was like at other promotions mostly for a while, but then I did come back last year, and I was there for a little while, which was wonderful. And I just haven't, it just hasn't aligned dates wise, for me, and I haven't had as much communication with, LeBron Cozone, but I think the world of everyone over there. I still see a lot of the guys I trained with on various shows, so I always happy, to see everyone I trained with. I'm very grateful for all of them. Um, Jackson Drake, who is now the current Evolve champion, I ended up training with him a lot, who I met we both started at Firestar, and so I did train with him a lot one-on-one, was a lot of most of my bulk of my training the last couple years, which, you can't get any better than Jackson Drake. Also trained with Lane also started at Firestar. So even though I don't go to Firestar, a lot of the times that I am training, it's still with Firestar guys.
I gotcha.
So if, I'll still say, if you ever want to, learn how to wrestle, you're in the Greensboro area, Firestar is a great place. I think, you can't be a phenomenal wrestler, a great wrestler, if you don't know the basics, and that's one of the best places in the world, in my opinion, to learn those basics. Lane also does training at the Lucha Dome in Burlington, which is where they hold the Alpha Underground shows. So, always you can direct message him if anyone's ever in the area and wants to train. He's a great one too. He helped me a lot when I first started out. So, nothing but positivity, to all the Firestar guys. I still love all my trainees, all my friends that I've made there, completely and deeply. They're awesome guys and girls, of course.
Of course. That being said, there is another, trios out there that is making a name for themselves as well, and that is Infamous. You had the opportunity to wrestle against them, teaming with Maverick as well. What was that experience like?
Overall good. I wish we would have came out with the victory, but, at the same time, I enjoy wrestling at Newborn Wrestling. We actually just did a show for them, I think 3 weeks ago, if I remember correctly. I don't know if it's been put out on, YouTube or online, however they post their streams, but I wish we could have wrestled in Famous again. I think, we didn't really get a proper shake of the stick, when it comes to the match. Lane, of course, was the one who got pinned, but, I was taken out towards the end, so I feel like if that didn't happen, things would have turned out quite differently. So I'm hoping for the future to wrestle them again. Maybe if we have Kent, maybe since there's all three of us and we're more used to tagging, maybe it was because, also we hadn't tagged with Maverick before, and, they're a unit. If we get our unit together, I think we'd be able to beat them. But, that's not putting down Maverick. Maverick, I think, is, very good. And I enjoyed getting to tag with him, and I've enjoyed, getting to be with him on shows and getting to know him. But at the same time, when it's me, Kent, and Lane, it's more of a well-tuned machine, in my opinion. Right. But I would love to wrestle Jack Tatum in a one-on-one match. CJ, I'd also love to have a one-on-one match with. I just haven't gotten the opportunity just yet, but hopefully in the future.
I was going to ask, Maverick, not going to be a part of the Trendsetters, correct?
I don't think so. I think he's enjoying his being singles. But, the door's always open. I don't want to turn that down. We may need someone, with a little more of the mixed martial arts background. There's not really that element in the Trendsetters, unfortunately.
So definitely another match with Infamous needs to happen.
Yeah.
And you did mention, a couple of singles matches as well. Primarily you are doing tag team stuff. But is more of a singles, a single side of things something you want to pursue a bit more?
Yes and no. I enjoy tagging with Lane to such a degree that it's not like I feel like I'm missing out on singles runs, and I've had so many singles matches at this point, and so many tag matches. It's all competition as far as I'm concerned. It's just different aspects of competition. But, and it just also depends on who we're up against. If I wouldn't mind having more singles matches, but I wouldn't mind, still doing a lot of tag matches. Right now we're a little more in demand as a unit.
Right.
So I see that probably being more common, and also, plugging back in the t-shirts, the next t-shirts we're making are Trendsetter shirts. So,
Hashtag
yeah, exactly. But, things happen, Lane, for all I know, maybe in a month or two, he may get sick right before a show, so they may change, a tag match that we were going to have into a singles match, and, things like that happen, so I would love to have a singles match. I feel like I thrive under pressure, no matter if I'm with Lane or without Lane, so I feel like that's what I bring to the Trendsetters, and, one of the things I bring to the Trendsetters, so either way, I'm actively seeking competition, and so is Lane, and so is Kent.
Yeah, and if Lane does possibly get sick, they might just put you with Maverick again, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
He's not a Trendsetter.
Exactly. Now, what's funny about that match with Maverick, he was kicking, can't remember who it was in the match, but he was kicking whoever in his thighs, like those quick kicks, kind of like what Mike Bailey does.
Yeah.
And he slipped in the ring, and it was hard. Like, you want to stay supportive, on the side of the ring, but like it was hard to not laugh at him at that time.
Well, another interesting thing you did was that you was actually a part of New Japan Strong. Can you tell us about what you were doing with New Japan?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to get to go up to Philadelphia. So they brought me in, and I mostly just did like, when they bring someone up on the indies to like WWE and do like security. They like pick indie wrestlers to do that. They had me do that for New Japan. And that was wonderful because it was in the Hammerstein Ballroom where ECW was. So that was awesome, as a kid growing up, watching, old ECW, VHS and DVDs growing up. So that was amazing. There was like the Barely Legal poster with like Sabu and Taz. So that was awesome. I got a lot of like, cool spots to look at. And then it was the Best of the Super Juniors tournament that night. So I was hoping, I was going to end up getting, a match that night. Wasn't fortunate enough. Unfortunately, things happen. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm super grateful that they, let me come up and, let me be a part of the show in any capacity. And then they also let me be there the following day for the Impact / New Japan crossover pay-per-view. So I got to do 2 pay-per-views in 1 weekend. So that was a blast. I wouldn't have traded that experience for anything.
Is that kind of like a window into, a world you want to be a part of?
Yeah, actually, it's been my dream. Of course, it's everyone's dream to get signed by, a major promotion. At least if you grow up like I did, started watching wrestling when I was 4 years old. But, when I got into, I first started wrestling, AEW was still very new. I mean, overall, it is still very new in the grand scheme of things, but it was in its infancy when I first got started. Or actually, I may have even got it started before it began. It was around that time. So I'm a little hazy on the exact time period of then, but my dream actually was to wrestle and to get signed by New Japan because they get to they've had several shows in the Tokyo Dome, and that's kind of like my dream venue of the place I would want to wrestle more than anywhere else. And I went to Japan before, and I love Japan, so I'd love to go back and hopefully would love to get to wrestle for New Japan. That's still kind of my overall dream. But I'm very happy with what I've been given. So, and my father actually gave me some really good advice when I first got started, and it's something I've kind of held on to. He said, no matter what happens, you need to be grateful for where you're at right now. And that's what he said when I first got started. He said, no one can take away that you are a professional wrestler. You were a professional wrestler if it ends up stopping tomorrow. So I try to hold on to that mindset whenever I'm doing this. So, if heaven forbid, if I had to stop wrestling tomorrow, I am grateful for what I've had and what I've gotten to accomplish. And the people that have been on shows with me, the people I've gotten to share locker rooms with, and the people I've gotten to wrestle.
Hell yeah. Now, was there anybody coming up to you, giving you advice from New Japan? Or even TNA for that matter?
Clark Connors was amazing when I met him. He was probably the most kind to me and, willing to give me advice. Heath Slater has also been very kind to me, and when we've talked, I've been on a couple shows with him, so it's very nice for UPW and for Alpha Underground. So that was awesome, getting to see him again. And let me think. Um, Brian Cage was really nice to me when I first got started. JD, the person that is probably like, well, of course, like, Jackson has been the best, and he's, currently the Evolve champion. But when it comes to like Impact, TNA, those guys are probably the ones that have done the best. But, I also trained with Malachi or Javon Evans, a lot. So that was also great. I got to wrestle him, I think, like 5 or 6 times. So those are still some of my most fondest matches. And getting to see what he's doing now is, out of this world. But I'm trying to think of who else. Zack Sabre Jr. was awesome when I met him. He was very kind. But yeah, no, I mean, I loved it. It was a great experience.
Was Javon as bouncy as he is now back then?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's jumped off various different things, and I was the unfortunate recipient of his antics. And trying to keep up with him, I try, staying in shape is, very, very important to professional wrestling, and even then, it's hard to keep up with him. So, but I'm very proud of our matches that we had together.
Now you mentioned, going to Japan. Was that for pro wrestling, or was that just for personal stuff?
Yeah, it was for personal stuff.
I mean, what was you doing in Japan, if I could ask?
So actually at the time, my sister had her first child, and her husband is in the Marine Corps. So they were living over in Japan. So this is when I was about 21, so a year before I started wrestling. Or not quite about a year. So about a year before I started pro wrestling.
Does that kind of, like when you did kind of start wrestling, I mean even now, is it kind of like a moment like, ooh, just if I would have started a little bit earlier?
Well, I always wanted to do it. It was always my dream to wrestle. And, honestly, when I was growing up, I just thought I was too small. And this is something I will say about, I wouldn't have been doing this ever if it wasn't for LeBron Cozone, because I went to college and I got a degree in film. So I thought, because of my size, I thought I would never be able to be a wrestler. So I thought, well, if I can't wrestle, maybe I could record wrestling and like find out something to be useful and to, be in that space. And then when I got out of college, it was, I wasn't really doing much. I was working out, but like that was all I was kind of doing outside of like work. So I contacted LeBron Cozone and was like, hey, I live in Greensboro. I have a film degree. I've done a lot of camera work. I used to do camera work for ESPN Plus in college as an internship, like baseball, basketball games and things like that. So I messaged him and was like, hey, man, I'll work for free. I just kind of want to be around wrestling, and you don't have to pay me. And he was like, oh, I've already got a camera guy, so no worries there. But, would you like to wrestle? And I was like, oh, man, I'm too little, man. I don't think, I would be any good at it. And he said, well, how tall are you? And I go, oh, I'm 5'11". He goes, well, just come see, if you like it, if you want to keep doing it. And then first day I started, and then he asked me if I'd ever done this before. And I was like, no. And he's like, are you sure you've never done this before? And I go, no, this is my first day pro wrestling. And he goes, well, did you play sports in high school? And then I told him, yeah, I was a part of a state champion team here in North Carolina, the high school I went to. So it was a very big school for, amateur wrestling. And I played football, I played all types of sports growing up. And he was like, well, that's why, you're kind of taken to this very quickly. And he told me I needed to keep coming back. So I think like 4 or 5 months in, I started I was doing spots and doing, and, you know, able to hang with, you know, people that were, or at least close to hanging with people that had been doing it a lot longer by my third practice. So I was very fortunate to, you know, have the motivation to keep going. And, you know, having that encouragement, you know, I wanted to keep going and I loved it. And I've always been someone who can take pain very, you know, not, I won't say easily, but like I'm not someone who gets hurt easy. So once I started, you know, a lot of people, they'll take their first bump and they're like, oh, this is not for me. And, you know, I did it and I was like, I think I can do this, you know, so I just kept going back. And then, you know, you have your first battle royal, you have your first match, and then you have one after that, and then you keep going, and then, you know, years later, you're still at it.
Well, I mean, you know, just going back to Japan, you know, obviously you was in wrestling, but like, what was that experience just in general being in Japan?
Oh, it was wonderful. Their food is excellent. I of course live in North Carolina, and don't get me wrong, we've got some excellent like breakfast locations here, but I think they're better at cooking breakfast than we do in the United States. It's so good. Every time I had breakfast, it was absolutely amazing. I don't really eat a lot of like fast food or anything like that, but I did have McDonald's over there, and it was way fresher than any McDonald's I have ever been to. So if you ever go to Japan and want to try McDonald's, it's way better than any McDonald's I've been to in the United States. And, you know, the one thing I didn't love was I didn't know how humid it actually was going to be. So you have to, like, chug water bottles pretty much all day, every day, because it's insanely hot and insanely humid. But, you know, it's so clean. You know, the thing, and I won't get on a tangent, but, like, I went to, you know, the water that was there, you know, the ocean, because I was in Okinawa, and the water was so blue and clear, and I, of course, grew up near Emerald Isle and Atlantic Beach in North Carolina, so I grew up with the beach, and just in comparison, you know, it's just so vibrant. You could literally see the fish looking down in the water, you know, like basically to us, like tropical fish. So I really love that experience. They're just so much better about, you know, the one thing about it is there's not many trash cans like there are in the United States where you could just throw something away. But at the same time, it's so much cleaner than the places I've been in the United States, like all the traveling I've done. So I really love that about Japan. They definitely take a pride in, you know, their communities.
Okay. Now, another guy you had been in the ring with is Mickey Fulp. Well respected, well known name in the area. What was that experience like?
I enjoyed wrestling Mickey. You know, he's very charismatic. And, you know, when I met him, you know, I was very early on, and he was booking wrestlers for AIWF Mid-Atlantic. So when I was first getting started, he was someone who wanted to consistently book me. So I was lucky at the time to, you know, I was still learning, you know, and didn't know, I was still learning how to lead a match, and, you know, take advantage, and, you know, of course. So I'm very fortunate for that time because I wasn't quite sure who I was and who I wanted to, how the fans would see me, you know. Right. So I was very lucky, you know, to have that experience. But wrestling Mickey, I can't even tell you how many times I've wrestled Mickey. You know, it's been several times, and all the times, you know, I can't say one negative thing about it. You know, I think my favorite was the time I defended the AIWF Mid-Atlantic Cruiserweight title against Mickey. And Mickey was like the longest reigning Cruiserweight champion up there. And I had I think I held the belt for almost a year up there. So it was nice to kind of have that full circle moment with someone who was kind of leading the division. And then when I was leading the Cruiserweight division, it was nice to circle back and, have that torch passing moment. So I'm very, very thankful for my matches with Mickey. And we kind of had a good thing going there. I had Seth Burns as my manager at the time. That's when I was a male model, which is hilarious in retrospect. But, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. And shout out to Mickey. It's been quite a spell since we've had him on the show, but definitely still a friend of the show for sure.
Oh yeah, you had Mickey on here?
Oh yeah, in the first year of doing this, and we're coming up on year 5. So
oh, congratulations!
It's been it's been a while, and thank you.
Absolutely. No, Mickey's a trip. I've hung out with Mickey. Lane had a birthday party one time, and Mickey came over. I went over, and he was cracking me up the entire night. He's such a funny guy.
Oh yeah, I believe he just got married as well. So congratulations to him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Him and his wife Carson, they're amazing. I enjoy getting to hang out with both of them when I got the opportunity, but yeah, no, they're an awesome couple.
Well, that's good to hear. All right, maybe not such a fun time, but one of the more brutal matches in pro wrestling. You were in a War Games match. What was that like?
It was very exciting, that's a deep cut. That's when we were in Fighters Club. So it was me, David Parrish, which I don't think he even wrestles anymore. But JAC, Jesse Alexander Carter, he's still going strong. He's the current AML champion. And so I remember when we first got started with Fighters Club, that was awesome. And then we had Clara, and I'm pretty sure she's doing stuff with like NWA now, so she's doing great.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it was always a blast, like when we would ride to shows together, when we would have matches, all together. I've tagged with Jesse, I tagged with David. We also had Don Petty in there for a while. That was awesome too. I forgot about that. But the War Games match, I remember going through that door. I honestly have the worst. If you look at my career, and if there's ever a door in the match, I've never not gone through a door. I have bad luck around doors. So and the last match I had with doors, it was kind of my own fault. I brought both of them into the ring. Luckily, I didn't go through both of them, but I remember I got powerbombed. I think it was by Ty Tyson, that War Games match that you were talking about, through the door. But I remember that was a lot of fun. We had the war paint, and we used to come out to what's that song by Black Sabbath? War Dogs, War Hogs.
War Pigs.
I think that's what it's. Yeah, War Pigs. That's what it is. That was awesome. That was our theme, and we had a blast. And then we also, if I remember correctly, Rock and Roll Express were right before us, so that was awesome getting to meet them, and then even being after them, which was incredible. It's something that if you would have told me this when I was like 10 years old, I wouldn't have believed you. But it was a blast. But if I could have changed anything, maybe not going through that door would have been great.
You've had some interesting. I don't even want to say gimmicks, but you mentioned being a model. Obviously, Fighters Club is a stark difference from that. and then, obviously the Trendsetters now. What kind of differences is there between, going from one faction to a different faction?
Yeah, so Fighters Club, we were all very, very young and we're very, very excited and wanted to do something, because, with my wrestling background, with Jesse's, David also had a wrestling background and like amateur wrestling, and then Jesse had the mixed martial arts background. So we wanted to do something to stand out, and we thought, like, we all have, this legit background, and we thought that this would be a good thing to do. I don't remember who came. I think it was Jesse who came up with the Fighters Club moniker. But, we were all very young, and we traveled together, and we would go to these different shows, and, it was very good, especially when I was so young in my career, to have. David was my first, like, tag team partner, like, more than, like, just a show or two, someone, and, like, and Jesse, like, because I didn't, like, have someone I'd tagged with several times, and it just kind of catch some steam, especially in North Carolina at the time. So, and we got to keep doing it, and I think we did it for 2 years or 3 years, 2 years, I think. And, that was an awesome time. Jesse, the one thing about it, was we were kind of like, I don't know, we were kind of like teammates, like playing a sport, or like that we're on like a team together, is kind of how I thought about it. Because we were constantly like ribbing each other before we would go out. And I remember one time in particular, right before we're about to have a match, Jesse just made me almost in tears laughing so hard. And then you had to, like, focus, you got to go do your match. But it was a blast. And then the male model, that came about, I got attacked by some fans at the time, and they took a swing. They had actually were able to punch me in the face. I wasn't able to get away. Security wasn't the best that night, I guess. And I was just really offended. And I had said to someone, I'm like, my face is way better than all the people in that crowd. So I just thought, and then the AIWF, when I told them that, they really, leaned into it. So, I mean, that was awesome. I ended up having the face gear for a long time, which is hilarious because it made my head look like a bobblehead coming out if you go watch any of those old matches. But that was really fun. I was with Seth, and then, later, Lane became a part of it. So, and then it was like Trendsetters, but like Seth Burns, Enterprises. It was kind of like an offshoot of the Trendsetters, because me and Lane had already started tagging at like other places, but then we kind of brought Seth into it, and then Seth came with us to some other promotions, and we would kind of, do our thing. And Lane, I started doing the male model thing, and Lane was already, pretty boy. So he kind of just slid in right with that. So it's like our gimmicks were already so similar at the time.
It was perfect.
So, yeah, it was perfect. Exactly. So I kind of and Lane and me were already kind of like, we had wrestled and we'd kind of gotten past, the animosity. And then we became friends, and then we started tagging together, and I was like, man, we're good at this, it just was a perfect fit. And then when I started tagging with Lane, Kent, I think he was still wrestling, but he had I remember he had his twins for a little while, and he kind of took a break, or was about to have his twins. And then me and Lane kind of were going strong at it. And then, Kent was like, they were just like, we were thought about maybe doing something like different, because Kent and Lane had already been tagging for a couple years by this point. And so I was thinking like, well, should we do something different? And then Lane was like, nah, man, the Trendsetters, like we didn't want to be like NWO-like, but we wanted it to be like if we added me, it felt like a natural fit, especially because of the way I wrestle, the way Lane wrestles. And Kent, if you watch his matches and you watch mine, I'd say he's probably the most similar wrestler to me. When you actually watch, the moves that we do, the way we interact with crowds. So, I mean, he's probably the most similar wrestler to me. The strong kicks, the high intensity. So it was just, it was a natural fit. And, and also if you're going to be traveling 4, 6, 8 hours, you might as well travel, with some of your best friends. So that's, those are my guys. So I'm grateful for all of them, but, the Trendsetters, those are some of my best friends in the world. So it doesn't feel ever like we're working. It feels like, I'm doing, what I love to do with some of my best friends.
Hell yeah. And I think that's a great segue into, our next segment, and that is Casen's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Ooh, put me on the spot. Well, let me think. One time when I was going to meet Lane at his apartment, and I was picking him up, and we were going to a show. The Smile movie just came out. Me and Lane both love horror movies. The Smile movie had just came out, and there was this woman who was on something, I don't know, but she had no teeth. And we had just seen the Smile movie like a week ago, and she was like doing the smile grin, but with no teeth. And I was terrified. And I was right near Lane's apartment, and I called Lane. I was like, I'm not really afraid of like most women, but this lady is terrifying me. And I'm trying to think, there's probably some more. This one time also, I'm trying to remember the exact way this went. But when I went to New Japan in Philadelphia, they had this like gimmick for like the Philly cheesesteaks, and we had went out and like had talked to this local, and he was talking about how good they were, and then it turns out they were like sponsoring the New Japan show, which was funny and coincidental. But I remember another time I was wrestling Tevin Dangerous Turner, and I ended up running into him at the gas station right before our match. And that was crazy. It's just seeing other wrestlers that you don't get to see unless you're at shows. That happens a bit. I'm trying to think of anything else crazy. A lot more crazy things have happened, like in the ring, and like hanging out with my friends. I do have a story that is pretty funny. About, it's not really being on the road, but it has to do with other wrestlers. One time I went to this party, and Jackson Drake was there, and so was Pretty Boy Lane, and I don't remember, Mally may have came, or Javon Evans may have came. I can't remember off the top of my head if he did end up coming. But this was all when we were all hanging out a good bit, and this one guy recognized me from wrestling, and he was like, "Hey man, you're a wrestler. Are you going to go through that table?" They had this table with, like, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was this table out in the backyard, and it was a very, very big party. And he goes, "Are you going to go through that table?" And I go, "No, man, I don't, I'm not getting paid. I'm not going to go mess with any tables." And he was like, "I'll go through the table for you." And I tell him, I'm like, "That's not a good idea." And before that even gets out of my mouth, he runs over and jumps through the table. And it's not like a wooden one like, you would see me go through. It was like one of those plastic, hard plastic ones. And he goes right through it, fully commits to it. And I remember me and Jackson and Lane just dying laughing, thinking that was so funny. Dude had gotten so hyped that he knew us from wrestling and just decided to jump through a table because of it.
Alright. Now, you mentioned horror movies. Can you tell us about your love of horror movies?
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I don't remember how old, I think I was like 7, but I remember my cousin who's like 3.5 years older than me, and by the way, plug him, Brian Sanders. He's a magician and a really excellent one. So if anyone's ever wanted to see, magic, you can check him out on Instagram, Facebook. He posts like tricks all the time. He's excellent and has a huge following. But he showed me the original Halloween, and I was just terrified when I was a kid. And then I didn't really watch much horror movies for a couple years after. I was a little too frightened because that one was so scary to me.
Right.
And then when I was around, I think 10, I saw the original Scream. And even though there were moments that were kind of scary to me, I really enjoyed it and really liked it. And so that kind of got me into it. And then fast forward, when me and Lane started hanging out, I'd been into horror movies a good bit. Like, I'm not into, like, the really gory ones. Like, I don't watch those, like, Terrifier ones. I think that's a little much for me. I don't mind, like, Saw or anything like that, but, like, I'm not really into the Terrifier movies. I'm not saying, like, credit to the people that made them. I'm not talking negative about, people that do it. It's just not my cup of tea.
Right.
But, everything, like, that's came out that I've seen the last couple years, I think has been really good. I feel like it's a good, like, just how people say it's the best time to watch wrestling. I think it's the best time to watch movies because they've only gotten better, in my opinion. Overall, there's still classics, but so, like, I remember when the Smile movie came out, that was awesome. I love, those are like my favorites of the modern movies. But it's really just watching them with my cousin growing up. My mom also was in a movie called The Mutilator when she was young. She was like an extra character. So, like, what's it called? Like a background character, not like, she didn't like have speaking lines or anything like that, and so was my grandfather.
An extra.
So yeah, so there's a little bit of that in the family that makes us like interested, and now I've heard it's like a cult classic to some people, which is crazy. But I think there was always that element in my family that we were always interested in it because there was that tiny bit of background. But, like, my dad's side is the exact opposite. Like, my dad doesn't like any horror movies at all. So, I think it was partly because, like, I never watched them with him, and then my mom was into it. So, something me and my mom bonded over, and me and my cousin bonded over growing up. Like, me and my cousin, when like Scream 4 came out, like after there not being movies for years, like we went and saw that opening night, midnight premiere. So, and I remember I think me and Jackson and Lane, if I remember correctly, we went and saw Smile opening night too. And Lane and I went and saw the last 2 Screams in theaters together. So, I mean, it's just one of those bonding things. Me and Lane, last match we had, we watched Spree, and I forgot how awesome Spree is. I really like found footage type of stuff. And so, if you haven't seen Spree, check out Spree. I feel like that's like the most underrated horror movie.
But what's your go-to? What's your favorite?
Favorite OG Halloween? Probably because it scared me so much as a kid. And now as an adult, I just appreciate how good it was in its simplicity. But that or OG Scream are my 2 favorites. But I'd say put Smile 1 and Smile 2 in that category now. Those are all my go-tos.
Okay.
Can't pick one. I like so many.
Now, can you tell us about your tattoos and if they have any significant meaning?
Yeah, actually, so the Batman one that I have, my great uncle. So not to bum anyone out, so I'll breeze right through. My grandfather, didn't get to know him very much on my dad's side before he passed away, and my granddad on my mother's side was paralyzed 6 months after I was born. So my great uncle on my dad's side was more of like my grandfather, and he used to say he was Batman. So he passed away when I was 18, or right before I turned 18. So when I turned 18, I got the Batman one for him. The Moon and Stars is for my grandmother on my dad's side, so my dad's mom. She used to say she loved me and my sister to the moon and stars and back, so I got Moon and Stars for her. The Japanese one on my ribs means I looked it up. I made sure that's what the signs were, or the letters were, but it means strength, bravery, and brotherhood. And I at the time was, going through it and wanted something, to be strong and to be brave, and also brotherhood just means love towards your fellow man, and I say man, but I mean people as a whole, remember the reason why we're out of hunter-gatherer, stage of life is people learned how to communicate and how to work together. And I feel like sometimes that's lost in life, that we're here and that we've became, the top of the food chain, if you will, because of us working together. And it's something that I feel is lost today. But, it's just something that I got stenciled in Japan, so it's like an authentic traditional tattoo. So that one is really cool. The dice on my back, that was for more pro wrestling because it's a roll of the dice every time you go out in the ring, but I'm willing to do it, because I love it to such a degree. So that one's for pro wrestling. One that most fans probably, or 2 fans most probably won't see, is I have a Disney World castle on my right calf. And my mother is a huge Disney World fan, Disney fan in general, so that one's for my mother. The Disney World tattoo, or the Disney Castle tattoo, that's for my mom. She's just an avid Disney fan, and she's always supported me, in wrestling, and, when I moved to, Greensboro and left, home. So, she's amazing, so I couldn't ask for a better mother. And then I got the newest one is a Kraken taking down a sailboat. And honestly, where I was living was doing a flash sale, and my sister and I went and got a tattoo, so it's just more of a tattoo I got with my younger sister, who had just turned 18 and really wanted to get one. So we both, of course, I've had several by that point in time, and she really wanted to get one, and so we went and did it together, and we both really liked what they were doing at the flash sale. I got it at Inkspiration in Morehead City, the most recent one, and it's probably one of my favorites now. So if I get any more, I think I'm probably going to do more flash sales, because they come up with the most unique ideas, and sometimes I have a hard time. I like all of mine to mean something. So, I mean, maybe I won't do that, but at the same time, if they do as good as they did for this last one, I may have to get another one.
So no plans for new ones, but if something kind of comes up, you'll definitely get one.
Yeah. I mean, if something that jumps out to me or something I think of that creatively I like and something, because a lot of people will just get tattoos to get them. I try my best to stay away from it because they are addicting, in my opinion. If you get one, you end up wanting to get another one, in my opinion. Like, and it doesn't. I don't know. The only one that hurt was the first one I got, and it was just right when they got up to the armpit. So the other ones feel like a massage to me. Like, it doesn't feel like a needle at all. So I don't really feel the pain like a lot of people do when they get tattoos, and so it doesn't bother me. And I really like the artwork of it. I've never been like an artistic drawing or like painter. I've never had any artistic ability outside of like professional wrestling, that sort of creativity. But so if I see something I really like, I'm not saying I wouldn't get it. There's a strong potential I could.
Alright. Well, that takes us to the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh, that's a good one. It would have to be something from the American Idiot Green Day album. It's my absolute favorite album ever. I don't know. I probably St. Jimmy, which is Lane and Mine's current theme that we come out to on the American Idiot album. Probably Livewire by Motley Crue, which was my first entrance song. That would probably be one of them too. Third one. There's so many good ones. I'm trying to think of a third one, but I definitely know those 2 would be my first. I don't know, maybe something else from American Idiot. Probably Jesus of Suburbia. That one's a good one too. Green Day is my absolute favorite band ever. I've never gotten to see them in concert, but if I ever find out they're touring, I gotta go. I gotta make time for that.
So something on the bucket list.
Yep, absolutely. I don't even think they tour anymore, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe they do, but like I remember this summer, I looked up if they were doing any shows and nothing came up. So in summertime, that's usually when people tour the most,
I mean, true. But I mean, I don't remember them coming out with anything as of recently. So maybe they're just recording right now, and when they release a new album, new music, they'll want to tour it.
Yeah. The best concert I went to was actually Wiz Khalifa, like hearing it live, but I've also seen the Rolling Stones, and that was amazing too. I've seen Post Malone. I've seen several country artists like Kenny Chesney, and that was awesome too. I've always loved all music, so, like I think every genre of music has something to offer. So, like, I don't have just, like, one certain kind of music I like. So, but I would like in the future to get to go to more concerts. I was looking at some this summer, and it just didn't work out, mostly with my wrestling schedule. I couldn't really do it. But, I mean, there's always time. Eventually I will age out of wrestling, I'm sure. Time's a cruel mistress to us all, and but there's always time.
Oh yeah, I kind of know how you feel because Linkin Park came not too long ago in Los Angeles, and it was literally the only arena I wouldn't go to That's the arena that they went to. So.
No, you reminded me. Probably my third song's probably "Bleed It Out." Now that you sang it by Linkin Park, that's one of my a lot. I used to listen to that song pretty much every time I was doing a long drive to a wrestling show. So that's one of my favorites. Oh, yeah. So you helped me come up with my third song.
Well, I'm glad that I could help. But yeah, obviously can't see Chester anymore, but just seeing the rest of the band, and can't remember what the girl's name is. But it's a good alternative for a really great band that I've really enjoyed most of their songs.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in the 90s or the late 90s, and so I mean, growing up, Linkin Park was awesome. I'm pretty sure everyone was at least listened to a little bit of Linkin Park, but I loved them. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
I bet you had a blast.
Oh, I didn't get to see them.
You didn't?
I wish I could have saw them, but I didn't get to see them that time because it was the only arena in Los Angeles that I would not go to.
Oh yeah, I gotcha.
So I'm sure they'll come back around, hopefully into an arena I would prefer to see them in. But hopefully. Yeah,
I mean, I get that. There's this one stadium or arena in Raleigh. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it was not as good as the other one. There's two big ones, and one's not as good, and the other one's way better. So I understand where you're coming from.
Well, definitely. Well, actually, 4 solid picks. Great songs. Everybody knows. You get the soundtrack first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who plays you, and you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
I don't know who looks like me that's famous. I'm trying to think. Cause I don't know. I'm trying to think. If I could pick anyone, even though I think he's older than me, my favorite new actor who's oh yeah, actually I know. Even though I think he's a little older than me, so this would have to be, they'd probably have to de-age him, but Kyle Gallner, who's in the new Smile movies and was in this movie called Strange Darling, which is awesome. He's my everything I've seen him in, I think he is awesome. Even though we don't look that much alike, I think he looks like one of my best friends out of wrestling. I think he looks more like him than he does me. But, that's probably one of my favorite actors right now. And if he were to do, I feel like he would do a really good job of getting into character for something like the pro wrestling industry, which would be, I guess, the only thing that a movie could potentially be made about me for. But he's probably one of my favorite, actors. Even though he's been doing this for a while, he's really became top notch. Everyone's starting to learn who he is. So I'd say that's probably my favorite actor right now. So even though he's a little older than me, he's probably my favorite right now. So probably pick him just out of favoritism bias.
I gotcha. Right. Now every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you and your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
So Lane, probably my mother, and probably Jackson Drake. Those are probably my 3 top, because those are my best friends, and also, it would make the most sense. Probably my mom's around 50, so I think she's around Demi Moore's age, so I'd probably pick Demi Moore for her.
Okay.
Lane. Oh, that's a good one. Because he's got that long, wild man hair. Let me think. Who has, like, wild man hair like that? That would do a good job. I don't know who would play Lane. That's a hard one. Maybe if that guy I can't remember his name, whoever was the main character in Spree, whatever actor that was, if he grew out like long hair and the beard, he'd probably do a good job at being Lane. Maybe someone who's a little more countrified, or if he was able to do like a countrified accent, because that's kind of how more Lane talks. Jackson, though, man, who looks and could do Jackson, though?
Are you talking about Joe Corey?
I think so, yeah. That's who he is, yeah. If that dude grew like a beard and long hair, he could do Lane. Okay. And then who would be Jackson, though? I'm trying to think who Jackson looks like, too. Because Jackson's also, Jackson's in his prime right now. So I feel like I would be in a movie for Jackson before he would be in a movie for me. But I'm trying to think. I don't know, buff Timothy Chalamet for Jackson, I guess.
Buff Timothy Chalamet. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, because... Jackson, like, I think he's way bigger than Timothy Chalamet. He'd have to put some pounds on to look like Jackson. And plus, I don't think he's as tall. Jackson's got, like, Viking DNA built into him, so he's a big, tall guy.
All right. Well, this is definitely sounding like a great movie. A blockbuster, to say the least. And
stacked cast.
Oh, yeah. And you can pre-order the tickets now.
Oh, that's good.
Alright, on to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
It's good, actually. My second girlfriend that I consider like a real girlfriend from when I was younger, like my second girlfriend in high school, she used to get bacon and pineapple pizza, and it was actually, I didn't really get pineapple on pizza very much, and it was really good, so it's not something I go to. I'm more of a meat lovers guy if I'm going to eat pizza. But I like it. It doesn't bother me at all. I'll eat pineapple on pizza.
Okay, so pro pineapple on pizza. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, what's his name? It's been a while since I played those games. But there's this one, I know he's in the Shield game, the Sword and Shield game. He's like, he's just like purple, and he's got like a mohawk that's like bright gold, or like a light blue. I'm trying to think of his name. He's cool, though. He's like a poison and an electric type, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to think who he is, because I've only played that game once, and it's been several years now. It was like the pandemic when I played it.
What is this character's name? Toxicity?
Yeah, Toxicity. Yeah, that's the exact one. I think it's something like that, but yep, that's the one.
Okay, maybe it's the evolved version, because he has like more of a blue. He has a purple mohawk in the evolved.
Yeah, there's two different depending on which game you get. I guess there's like different ones you can get. Kind of like, I don't know if it's like shiny. I'm a little confused on the shiny Pokemon. Like I watched a little bit growing up, but I mostly played the games growing up. But if you don't know who Toxicity is, I'd say Gyarados. That the one that Magikarp evolves into. Yeah. That's like my favorite Pokemon, though.
Oh yeah. Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
No.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a dog can't spell. Yes. We
I
love
never heard that before.
Well, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show, trying to keep the memory alive. Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical rock.
Ooh. How big is this rock?
I'd say it's around the size of a shoe.
Does this rock has this rock been talking smack, or what's going on? Like, why are we beefing?
Well, I mean, this rock has the world championship.
Oh, if he's got the title, then yeah, he's going down.
I love the fact that that was the game changer for you.
Well, I would have been
I'm going for him.
I mean, if he was even talking smack, I'd still go after him. Like, if you start calling me, if this rock starts talking smack online, I'm like, all right, man, I'll see you when I see you.
Well, just for context, there is a wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Oh my god. I'm gonna have to look this up.
I can send it to you.
I definitely do. I knew about Kenny Omega wrestling the blow-up doll.
Yes. Psycho Mike, overblows proportions.
2 weeks, though, did he, like, stop and get something to eat mid-match, or what?
Well, he actually had more match. He actually wrestled other matches while he was in the match. Doing that match.
Gotcha.
So while he was doing another match with an actual human being, The Rock actually came in on him and attacked him. So,
Oh my god.
yeah, that's an actually thing that happened. Oh.
What on earth?
No more spoilers.
Yeah, gotta love pro wrestling.
On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
If, hopefully still getting to have some matches, if I haven't been signed by that point in time, my career I'll probably be dwindling down. To be honest, I feel like I don't want to be too old, if I don't, make it, eventually, I'd like some of the civilian things out of life, so I can't be gone every weekend like I have been. So if I haven't, gotten signed by that point in time, that's probably what would end up happening. But, I would love to be signed, that's still the dream. But, there's a plan, we just don't know it yet. So I try to think about that, and I'm, hopefully, I'm just healthy, happy, that's all really you can ask for.
Hell yeah. And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off you as a pro wrestler?
Okay, so this is actually good timing, because the other night I actually watched a couple of my old matches. I probably like once every 4 months, I'll go back and like watch some old matches. Sometimes it'll surprise you, ones you've forgotten about. I watched the Wrestling Prodigies, which was Jay Malachi, known as Javon Evans now, and Jackson Drake versus myself and Lane. That was a good one. Then also one of my early matches that was really good, a guy named Oliver Sawyer against me versus Morgan Dash was really good. I'm really proud of that match. Also earlier in my career, There was one with Oliver Sawyer, myself, a guy named Joey Gibson, and then Duke O'Connor. I really enjoyed that one too. A couple of my one-on-ones with Jackson Drake. Those are some of my best matches. My one with Diego Hill for United Pro Wrestling. That one was really good. That's one of my favorites. The one with Diego Hill, who signed with MLW now. So congratulations, Diego. Diego was a blast. I wrestled him twice, but the second time we wrestled, that one's excellent. But when I watch it, I miss my long hair. That was awesome. And some of the recent ones me and Lane have done have been really good with the Divine Embrace. Any of those Divine Embrace matches are really good. We did 3 matches with Divine Embrace, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 3 matches with Divine Embrace, and they're all excellent. And then, so those are really good too. Those are probably my absolute favorites, I would say.
Okay, and can we find these on YouTube?
Yes, they're all on YouTube. If you ever want to, find me particularly against someone else, literally just type in Casen Cain versus that individual, and you'll probably find it very easily. A lot of the videos that have been uploaded by various promotions are good about, putting my name correctly in there, so no worries there. But yeah, definitely. Or if you just put in Casen Cain Wrestling, some fan, I don't know who it was, but some fan made a playlist of pretty much not every match I've been in, but a lot of the matches I've been in. So you can literally, that one's always fun because you can kind of scroll through it and kind of see, the timeline of a lot of the matches, some of my first ones. So, I've got a lot of stuff, a lot of matches on YouTube. So definitely check them out. Leave a comment. I do look at them, not as often as I probably should, but I do go back and watch a lot of my old wrestling videos. So if you ever leave a comment, I'd love to see what people think, or see if you enjoyed it. Or, of course, comment on any of my Instagram posts or any of my Facebook posts, and I'm really good at responding to those.
Okay. I just want to know, I'm just wondering, who's misspelling your name? Because it's not that hard of a name to spell.
So, actually, Casen is my real name. The last name is different, of course. That was creative. I came up with it, and my original trainer, LeBron Cozone, he's the one who kind of told me that's the one to go with. But my real name is Casen, and a lot of people think it's spelled very differently, even though I don't know why, because I feel like my spelling makes the most sense, because you take the word case, like a bookcase without the book, you put an N to it, there you go, it's Casen, right? And, but, I had someone say my name wrong, even not recently, but like a year or so ago, I had someone say my name wrong, and when I first got started, there was this one guy who did commentary for Firestar, and he would call me Casen Cain, which isn't the end of the world, but it's Casen,
If I can ask, what has been, the worst butchering?
I get Casey a lot.
Casey.
I get Casey a lot. I've gotten people that think they think someone said Jason when it's not Jason. So that happens a lot. One time, not in a wrestling situation, but in a personal life situation, someone asked me for my name and I said Casen, and they said, "Oh, nice to meet you, Philip." And I was like, "No problem. Call me whatever. call me whatever you like. I'm not someone who gets too upset about those things. There's worse things in life to get upset about."
Alright. And just going back to your matches, I will grab some of those matches from YouTube and put them in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox for anybody that hasn't seen them, wants to see them, wants to re-see them after this interview. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
So I need to answer them quickly?
Yes, it's a speed round. I mean, you can answer them however you'd like.
Okay, I'll try to be quick.
Okay. Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Shawn Michaels.
Worst wrestler.
Probably. I was about to say David Arquette, but he came back in the Indies and did amazing. God, I don't want to say worst wrestler, because if you get in and try, man, I really don't know who's probably Mecca the Mercenary. Sorry to do it to you, bro, but probably you.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Can I pick anyone that retired and they're in their prime?
Anybody.
Definitely Shawn Michaels then.
Okay. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. Maybe the NWO. That's one of the most classic ones. Probably NWO. Or Rob Van Dam's was awesome back in the day. Maybe Rob Van Dam's.
Hell yeah. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Not dead.
We would have also accepted tastes great on toast.
I didn't think of that one.
Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
I thought that was a vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit. It has seeds. Tomato-like.
Oh. So zucchini's also a fruit then?
We only deal with squashes here. You would have to go on another podcast to figure that out.
Not a zucchini expert. I got you.
I am not a zucchini expert. New Japan wrestler Taichi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
I think, I guess it depends on your preference. For me, I've worn some biker shorts before, and they stopped below mid-thigh. So, I think I only had about an inch before my knee pads. So I think that's the most appropriate for me. But, if you ask someone like Caden Pierre, or some of my female coworkers in wrestling, they feel differently. So, which all power to them. I think whatever you feel comfortable in wrestling in is the best. And, I'm a tights guy myself. But, wrestling in pleather isn't the easiest either. So they may have figured out something that I haven't.
Okay, so for you, full coverage.
Yeah, I just, that's what I like. I wanted to go with, the way that the lead singer of Motley Crue used to look with my wrestling gear. That was like, what's his name? Vince, the lead singer of Motley Crue. You know how he used to look in the 80s? That was kind of my inspiration when I came up with the gear.
I got you. Alright, and the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No, actually not Darby Allin. I have had a conversation about Darby Allin with people, I think, where was it? I did have a conversation with someone at Darby Allin, which was a stranger. Oh, it was, It was a corner store, not quite a grocery store. It was a corner store. Like, if you were like to go get a drink, not a gas station, but like all the things that a gas station would have on the inside, it was like one of those stores.
Okay. That's interesting. Could you provide more context about this encounter?
So this person had, I was wearing one of my wrestling merchandise shirts, and he actually had saw me. Maybe it was a show, like, he'd went to a show far away. It was like Gastonia or something, like one of those random towns that you do like once, and he had saw me there and had recognized the shirt, and we started talking about wrestling, and his favorite happened to be Darby Allin. And I think Darby Allin, it was right after he did like the coffin drop, and then something exploded. I can't remember what it was. It was the glass. Yeah, that's what it was. It was right after that time. And like, so I had seen that, and I guess he had seen it too, and we just kind of, it was very brief. We talked about other wrestlers too. Like he had went to like what's AML's big show? He had just went to WrestleCade and had met like a bunch of people there and was like still very excited. So he told me about that, and I indulged him and listened to him.
All right. So, considering it was a convenience store, which does hold, food product, I will say that is the correct answer.
Awesome.
And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
I appreciate that. And once again, where can we find all things Casen Cain on social media?
Instagram, Casen_Cain, Facebook, Casen Cain is, you can follow me there. I post a lot of my matches, like match cards, so you can know where I'll be appearing. Anytime I'm on a poster, I share it. Also, YouTube, type in Casen Cain Wrestling if you want to see any of my previous matches. Those are all that I can think of right now.
And merchandise.
Oh, merchandise. Usually I'll put in new shirts that come out on my Facebook. So if you ever want one, once I come out with it, just message me there, and I'll put you down. And then once the shirts are printed, I'm usually good about reaching back out to clientele, and then I can ship it out to you. I've shipped out a lot of merchandise in the past, so no worries there.
Perfect. And you don't have to go typing it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt. Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. But on YouTube and Castbox, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, but on X, Thread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment, okay?
You got it.
For our special guest, Casen Cain, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show. Support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.